Shout out to Mecca Audio, YouTube, my nigga Unique. You know Mecca Audio, they out there doing their thing. Harlem to the fullest, baby. You know how we do. Yeah, Mecca Audio, nigga.
All right, you know what it is. Unique Mecca Audio, man. I'm here. I got Paul Crackers here because we're going to talk, about what it's like to be, white in the federal system and how they survive in the federal system. Paul Crackers was locked up from 1992 to 2021. Now I'm going to bring him up to get right to the point so he could tell you his story and we could just kick it. All right. So now, how you doing, Paul?
How you doing, Nick?
All right. So tell him how long you was locked up and what you was locked up for.
29 years. I was locked up for conspiracy to sell controlled substance. No drugs. No controlled buys. Basically, someone in prison trying to get time off testified on me, and I wind up getting a life sentence.
Okay, how did that play out? How did the whole case go down? The incident that brought you in, so they understand how someone come in to get you, to do a controlled buy, to set you up, basically.
Well, a controlled buy is when someone is working with the police and they come purchase drugs off of you. That never happened in my case. No police or informant ever bought drugs from me. They staked the house out. They never seen nothing. But they don't need to put you in prison. If they got someone saying they bought drugs from you, then that will be enough, because the judge will, at that time, will factor in and make a sentencing hearing based on amount of drugs and then sentence you to that amount and give you time based on what they estimate the drugs that you sold.
But hold on. So you're trying to tell me that you didn't get caught with any drugs? Did they have you on a wiretap? What did they have you on in order to arrest you for this?
They had an informant in prison saying that we did drug deals, and that was it. No drugs. They never bought no drugs off of me. I never sold no drugs to no police. They never caught me with any drugs. But
how did you plead guilty? How did you go to trial? How did you
I went to trial. I went to trial and was found guilty.
How? What did they use for evidence to find you guilty?
Money, property. Money and property, cash and real estate and planes and boats, helicopters.
Yeah, so what was the amount of drug that the informant said he brought from you?
The informant said that we did a deal 18 kilos.
So they sentenced you for 18 kilos because he said that you did.
Yeah, right.
But it had to be something that corroborated that or linked you to him. It don't make sense to me.
Well, there was a testimony from a female saying that we met, they introduced me, and I sold him some cars. That was, I guess, the link you might be referring to. I did sell him a few cars.
And how did he pay you?
Well, I got a notarized bill of sale of the transaction, but he said that he paid me in cocaine.
And then you had to prove that.
Well, I had a notarized bill of sale that he paid me money. His testimony was that he paid me in cocaine. But see, they only needed 5 kilos to give me life.
Yeah, I understand. We're not at the 5 kilos yet. We're trying to understand, how did the jury find you guilty from them just saying that? That's not making sense to me, and I know it's not going to make sense to others.
They found me guilty of conspiracy, which is they found me guilty of making a verbal agreement with this person to sell a controlled substance. I was just found guilty of dry conspiracy by the jury. The jury never found me guilty of any weight. Zero weight.
Okay, we got that. But how could a man just say that he bought 18 kilos from you, or 18 grams or 8 grams from you, and you get convicted of that? That's what I want you to tell us.
Well, it can happen. It happened to me.
I know. Tell us how it happened to you.
Well, I went to trial, and he got up on the stand, and he said that he gave me X amount of drugs on this date for this car, and the jury basically believed that we conspired together. So only simple conspiracy is all it takes to get you time.
So did they get you for money laundering? Is that what they got you for?
Well, I got one count of money laundering, and that was for putting a motorcycle in a friend's name. That's all. I got 72 months from that.
No disrespect to you, Paul, but it sounds like you're downplaying it. This is after the fact. We need to know what's going on. It's not making sense to me. It just sounds too vague. And you did the time, so obviously it happened. So I'm just trying to figure out, how it happened so that the youth know how it could happen as simple as it did to you, to others. So I'm trying to get some answers here. You're trying to tell me what I got so far is that somebody came to buy a car from you, and they paid cash, but they told the government that they paid cocaine, and that got you your time in prison.
Well, he did give me cocaine, to be honest. I mean, we did what they testimony to was true. What he testified to. I did the time for it, so it really don't matter. Yeah, he gave me the cocaine for the cars, and I got found guilty of conspiring with him, and that's what I went to prison for.
Okay, because from reading your case, it says that you was using your car dealership as a front for selling drugs. Is that correct, or I'm wrong? That's what it said in the paperwork.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't money laundering. I was charged with anything to do with that. I was charged with money laundering, yeah, but because they said I took the proceeds from drug sales and used it, to go into a bank, put it in the bank or whatever,
Okay, they tried to offer you a plea for 20 years for money laundering and 20 years for drugs. Is that correct?
Well, it is anywhere. It went, 20 years. It went all the way down to 5 years, actually. 5 years all the way up,
So why you didn't take the 5 years?
Because they wanted cooperation.
Okay. All right. So you got locked up for money laundering and for the sale of cocaine. That they saying that, but you bought the car for coke. You said they trying to say you sold the car for coke is what you're saying, right? Because I had one of those charges too. They said I bought a 750 BMW for a Kia Coke because
actually I had two other charges too that I wind up being thrown out. That was a attempt murder and another conspiracy, and they were thrown out. Lack of evidence or whatever.
Okay, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So you was charged with selling cocaine, selling a car for cocaine, basically. That's what your charge is.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I'm liking this interview because it's getting a little crazy here.
Because what happened was originally when I got locked up that night in May, I wanted to make a drug deal, and I was shot up and robbed, and basically I was supposed to be killed and take the money, but I wind up crashing the car and got away.
Okay, so how did that come about?
I want to make a deal down in Florida, buy some drugs, and before they can kill me, I wind up leaving because I had a court date for a violation of probation from a previous shooting that I got involved in, and I was out on parole. And I went back to finish up the deal, and their whole plan the whole time was to kill me and take the money.
Kill you? I didn't know that. Kill you how? Poison you, strangle you, shoot you, kill you how?
Nah, they put the gun to my head.
Yeah, so tell us about the incident. You're being too vague.
Well, he put the gun to my head, and I was driving down the road and put the gun to my head, and he didn't have a bullet chamber. He pulled the trigger, and the car, it was like 3 in the morning. I turned my head, and he covered the gun up. And I didn't see no gun at the time, but I heard the clicking, and I seen the look on his face, and it didn't look right. So I kept the eye on him at the corner of my eye. And when he moved again, I turned, and now the gun is in my face. And he wanted me to pull over previously, but I didn't pull over. So now he just gonna, I guess, shoot me while I'm driving. So he shot me in the face, and then I put my hands up over my face and basically ducked down between the seats of the Camaro that I was in and let go of the steering wheel. When I let go of the steering wheel, he took his eyes off of me and wasn't looking where he was shooting. And he unloaded the gun. The rest of the bullets kind of missed me. And the car crashed. He fell out the car, and I'm still alive. So I got out the car and got out the way. I basically got on down the road and through the woods to fight another day.
Okay. All right. So he was sitting in the passenger seat. He put a gun to your head, and he tried to tell you to pull over, and you kept driving, and he fired, hit you in the face. Where did he hit you in the face? Could you point that out to us?
Yeah, right under my nose here. Knocked my teeth out, split my nose down the middle. I had 2 operations. I got a plate in my face. And basically, I wound up going to the hospital, and I was locked up and charged at the hospital.
Oh, okay. So you drove yourself to the hospital with a bullet in your face?
No. He got the car. I got away. I got through the woods, and I went to a house, and they got an ambulance, and the ambulance came. Truck driver going by, seen the crash or whatever, and called the ambulance. Then the ambulance came up to the guy's house through the woods and picked me up and took me to the hospital. Police wound up charging me at the hospital because the shooter said that he worked for me for 7 years, and I tried to kill him.
Okay, so was that one of the counts in your indictment or no?
It was in a state indictment.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Stop being so vague, man. So you had a state indictment first, right? Okay. And what was in that state indictment?
That for that attempt murder, because they charged me with the attempt murder on him, and I'm the one that got shot. Okay. Then they charged me with conspiracy because he said that he worked for me for 7 years. All right. Then I made bail on both of those charges. Then the feds locked me up and charged me with conspiracy that I got life for. Once I got the life for that charge, the state charges were thrown out.
Okay. But they wound up charging you as a nonviolent offender.
Right.
And I assume that's because you didn't get found guilty of those charges, so that's what made you nonviolent.
Right.
Even though you had violent acts that was going on. Yeah, so y'all understand that's how the feds work. You got to be charged with a crime to be considered as, violent. Okay. So now you get locked up. Is that the same person that set you up and testified at trial, or is that someone different?
No, it's someone different. The person that testified on me was already in federal prison under a kingpin charge, and his whole crew was already in prison. And by him testifying on me, he got out in 2001.
Oh, okay. From 92 to 2001, and he was the kingpin, and he brought you in after he was already in and started a whole new conspiracy with you.
Right. He got locked up in 91, and he got out in 2001 early based on his testimony on me.
And other people, I'm sure you wasn't the only one.
Right.
Okay. So we got that straight. So now you go to court and you get sentenced. What did it feel like when you was getting sentenced after you was found guilty? Or what did it feel like when you heard the verdict that you was guilty?
It didn't sink in. It really didn't matter at that point, because after me almost dying from getting shot, everything after that was a second chance,
So you didn't mind hearing the judge giving you life sentence because you looked at that as a second chance.
Exactly, because I'm still living, you know what I mean? Because I should have been dead. At least I'm still breathing. So as long as I'm breathing, I got another shot at freedom.
See, that's what I'm saying. With two different breeds right there, because I done got shot up 4 times and all of that, and I didn't look at a life sentence as a second chance. You know what I mean? I looked at the life sentence like, damn, I got to figure out how to get out of this now. Because
I looked at it like that too, but I really didn't care. I looked at it like I didn't really care. You know what I mean? What else? You expect that, I guess. You're in the game and you're playing around, you're going to get burned.
Yeah, but it got to be some type of emotion that went through you when you got the life sentence.
I was kind of numb, actually.
Now that's understood, because when I heard the guilty verdict, I was more like in a frame of mind like, oh man, now I got to deal with this. How old was you at that time?
27.
Yeah, I was 29 when I got mine. So I was like, oh man, like where are we going with this? You know what I mean? It was like I couldn't even really, think, because I know they're going to have to put together a sentence later. So hearing the guilty verdict, it was like, just like, man, oh well, that's the way I took it, myself. That's why I'm asking you how you felt, so they can see how individuals deal with it differently. But I was like, oh man, I found guilty. You know what I mean? So that's why I asked you, how did you feel? And you said, if I'm not mistaken, that you was like, this is second chance, so you all right because you're still alive.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at it, I should have been dead that day.
But see, that's good, because, that you said that, because, the way I handled a situation dealing with my time similar to that. Like when I was talking to my children, you understand what I'm saying? And I was telling them, and even my children's mothers, I was telling them straight up that, look, I got locked up. Okay, well, I'm still alive, so it's not over. That's where I was at. I'm still alive, so it's not over. Bottom line, at least now you can still come visit me instead of visiting a tombstone in the graveyard, or a graveyard without a tombstone.
That's exactly what I looked at. The way I looked at me, I was taking care of 2 kids at the time, and I missed my kids, and if I got killed that night, I wouldn't be able to see my kids.
So how did you feel over your time? Your course of time, your decades in prison, being away from your children?
Well, I just never give up trying to fight, to get out. My one boy I stayed in contact with most of the time, he wound up ODing the year before I got out. I was just talking to him on the phone. I said, look, I'm going to get out. I got my compassionate release in. I'm going to get out. Just don't do nothing stupid. And then a month later, he ODs.
And passed away. He died.
Yeah.
So you lost your son a day before you came out?
Well, no, actually a few months before I got out.
A few months before you got. Okay, how did you feel when you heard that news?
He was doing drugs. I mean, I try to tell him, people that do drugs, they wind up 2 places, dead or in prison. It's only 2 roads. I mean, unless you get cleaned up, and very few people do that. And these drugs out here now, they putting people down.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So you're from Baltimore, a high drug area, right? Yeah. So I guess that's why you could be so numb to the way you're saying it, as a lot of viewers would say, because there's no emotion there. I mean, someone losing a son, people would expect more of an emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
I understand what you're saying, but look, whether it's my son or somebody else's son, I don't feel sorry for them. They want to dabble in that, then that's what it is, You pay the price. The price is death. I dabbled in drugs. I paid the price.
Okay, and that's where I was going to go at. Because the same way you said that you don't feel no remorse for him because he dabbled in that or whatever, so then you obviously don't expect the people looking at this to have any remorse for you because you dabbled in selling it to poison other people's kids.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so that's what I want the viewers to understand, that when I bring men up on here, we speak from the real. I poison my community. I'm not proud of that. And this is how I'm trying to give back. And this is how, Paul is trying to give back by sharing his story to prevent the youth from going through it. Because people think that, oh yeah, I'm going to go out, I'm going to sell drugs, I'm going to rob a bank, I'm going to do some scamming. And if I get caught, this and that. No, it's a whole nother world. When you break that law, you're in a whole nother field. You're in another field. You're in the field of nobody cares about you, and you don't care about nobody but yourself and your survival. So you don't care who you poison with your drugs. Am I correct, Paul?
Exactly. That's the way you look at it then. But now, you know what I mean? The drugs poisoning people, I can see, you know, how that terrible that is, you know, whether, you know, drug dealer back then doing that, you know, that's not good, you know, and it's not good now, it's not good then, you know, and you're poisoning the community, you know. So I've been trying to help and give back to the community since I've been out. I look out, try to feed the homeless, and each Christmas I try to gather up toys each year. You know, last Christmas I gathered up toys a few months before Christmas, and this month I got 10 times the amount of toys to give out to the poor kids in the community. I'm trying to give back, and I keep talking to these children about, you know, not using drugs and not get, there's other ways to make money than to sell drugs, you know.
Okay. You're so everybody understand, because I hustled in Baltimore too. You know what I mean? Big shout out to the homies that's in Baltimore. And let's free Mookie and Aaron Jones. Now, my thing is, you was raised with blacks in Baltimore, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want people to understand. You was raised with blacks in Baltimore, so you run with blacks because you could communicate with blacks. You didn't get caught up in the racism in the prison system. How do you feel, you know, before BMI, you know, how do you feel about the other white guys that you have met over the years that came in clean face, pure breed, blonde hair, blue eyes, brown hair, green eyes, or whatever, just straight white young man that joined these racist gangs? How did you view them? And how do you think they got involved in that? There's two questions you can ask. How did you view them from your point of view coming out of Baltimore when you don't have the racism embedded in you?
I mean, I just look at it, you know, in like bewilderment, because I never really seen the racism like that until I went to prison, you know. You know, in my heart, it was what it is. You know, a good person is a good person. There's good in every person. There's bad in every race of people, and there's good. So I just stuck to who I was and never changed who I was. So, but I seen people come in and felt the peer pressure to be around groups and other gangs and join, and no tattoos. And I said, yeah, a month later, that person's going to have tattoos on. He got tattoos everywhere in his face and everything.
Okay. I told a story about a young man that I met when I was in Atwater, California, that came in with me on the bus. It was me and 33 people. Everybody that came in, you know what I mean? Within 10 days, out those 33 people, it was only like 13 left. 20 got ran up off the compound for various reasons. This young man, he joined the gangs and became either Aryan Brotherhood, or, you know, the title of the group, which you already know, for the people listening, so don't take it disrespectful, was called the Dirty White Boys. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, I asked them, like, how are you going to go home to West Virginia like that after you done that to yourself? You got big SWAT stickers on your face, on your head, cut all your hair off, and you're 24 years old, 25 years old. How do you think your family is going to embrace seeing this new you? You know? And his answer to me was, man, I had to survive in here, and this is how I survived. Why didn't you have to survive like that?
I stayed being me, you know. I stayed being true to who I was.
Okay. And what is that?
Just being myself, you know. You know, I mean, you got to be able to lay your life down the line, and you got to be able to take life.
You went to the SHU, which is the special housing using, which is solitary confinement. What did you go? When was the first time you went to the SHU, and what was it for?
In Lewisburg, I was fighting with my cellie. He pulled a razor blade on me and a knife, and basically I hit him like 8 times, and
with a fist or with a knife?
No, I hit him with my fist, and then he came back at me later on that night with a knife, and I had a knife, and and the police came before anything happened. I was backing him up because we was in a small walk area in the dorm. We was in a dorm.
What block was you in?
I was in E dorm.
That's the dormitory block. Okay.
Yeah, in Sandside, right next to the block you were in.
Yeah.
Well, you were in J block, right?
No, I was in I block.
I block. Okay, well, right next to I block.
Right. Yeah, you had I block, and then you had G block, and then E block.
Okay. Right. G block was the Cuban block.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's where they put the refugees from the Scarface movie that been in there 30 years because they can't be released, and Castro won't take them back. Go ahead.
Right. So I was walking back to the bathroom so I could have more room. And I ain't going to lie, my intentions was to kill him. And luckily for me, I didn't. And the police wound up coming and got in the middle of it. And he jumped over the lockers. And he still had his knife. And I dropped mine and basically got rid of it. And so I got locked up just for fighting. And I wound up going to the hole. I sat in a hole for almost a year, about 8 months. Then I got transferred to Lompoc because I would have got out. They had me classified to get out, but I had a run-in previously with the SIS dude there. So I got like 15 days hold time, and I think 15 days for a weapon. And after the investigation, did my whole time, they called me to pack my stuff to go out the yard, and then the SIS stopped me from getting out.
And what year was that?
That was in 90. That happened in 97, right after the lockdowns for the murders.
Okay, I say that to say that was at the beginning of your bid, because you know if you did that at the end of your bid, you would have never got your clemency or compassion.
No. I was only on paper. It just showed I got locked up for 15 days for fighting and 15 days for weapon. That was the incident that's on my record.
Beautiful.
In 97.
Okay. All right. So what did you feel like the first time they put you in solitary confinement in 1997 for that?
Well, I mean, I had a lot of time to think, that's for sure. And I started reading books and started making a positive change to change my life and using that time and the whole isolation like that to my benefit. And that's when I made a commitment to myself that why am I breaking the law? Why am I even in prison? And what's the reason for that? You know, and I figured out that my reason for breaking the law was money. Why I sold drugs, why I did it. So I made a commitment that anything to do with breaking the law and making money, I refuse to entertain at that point in my life in 1997. That's when I made agreement to myself that I wouldn't do that no more. So since that time, I searched other ways to make money. I read books and dedicated the rest of my time in prison to doing that.
Okay, don't stop talking. When I get off the screen is because you're speaking on something that I want them to focus on you instead of me. Now, okay, so that one time in the hole, well, your first time in the hole kind of scared you straight to say it's time for me to get my life right because look where I'm at now.
Exactly. I mean, I was in prison, you know, and I'm like, okay, what is my hustle? What am I going to do to make money, you know, in prison? So I had to learn other hustles, and I learned basically how to play cards, how to you know, run a store in prison, and I just turned it up a different level and to start reading books on real estate, on the stock market, and dedicated from that point on to legal ways of making money.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So you learned the poker game, the poker hustle, or did you do skin as well?
No, I never messed with that. That's one thing I never played. Skin, I never played that. I played Tonk and I played poker.
Big shout out to the Dirty South, because you know that's where that skin come out of. You already know, you know.
Georgia skin. Yeah.
Yeah. So that now you went from Lewisburg to where?
Lompoc.
What year was that?
Now I went to Lompoc. I got there at the beginning of spring of 1998.
Okay, so I had a culture shock when I went through Oklahoma, right? And I went through there and I saw so many, Latin people, Mexicans and Ecuadorians and things like that, where now the blacks was the minority going through Oklahoma. How did you view going through Oklahoma back then as a white person?
It was different, I mean, you had I start seeing more Spanish people come to prison during that time, and it just got more and more. It wasn't that many in like South American and Mexican people in prison and in the federal system in the early 90s, but there was a lot of Cubans though.
And that's what I'm talking about, because when I went through there, I went through there in 90. I went through there in 90, end of 95. You know what I mean? I went through Oklahoma, but they put me straight in the shoe because I was on my way to 88, so that one don't count. But the first time through Oklahoma was 1995. For those of y'all that don't know, Oklahoma is the transit center, right? The transit center is where it's a big building, office building that they turned into a prison, and the airplane pulled right up and a tarmac come out from the side of the building. They bring you in there handcuffed and shackled with the chain around your waist and walk you down the walkway, take the chains off, take you through the medical, do all the intake like you're a piece of cattle. And then you talk to the psychiatrist, talk to the doctor, talk to the SIS to find out who you told on, who you can't be around, because they get ready to put you in the dorm around other people. In 95, they put me by myself, and I only lasted a couple of hours there, because as soon as I got there, by the time they put me in the room, it was like 9 o'clock at night, and 2 o'clock in the morning, they was waking me up to get airlifted over the ADX Supermax. And then I went there and didn't come back out until like 99. Middle of 99. But now I stayed in Oklahoma. I stayed in Allenwood for 2 years. Then they transferred me to Lompoc, where you was at, but you had already left. But now when they transfer me through there and I go through Oklahoma, I'm coming from Allenwood Penitentiary, which is a regular prison. So they put me in a dorm with all the regular inmates, because I wasn't a regular inmate going to ADX, because you already know ain't nobody making it to ADX. Ain't too many people. But when I went through there and I saw all the Spanish people, the Mexicans and all that was in there, it was more of them than black people. And I'm from the East Coast, where it was always more blacks always. Is that correct?
That's right. You're right.
Yeah. So now when I go through there, then I'm like, whoa, this was a culture shock for me. You know what I mean? So then they send me out to Lompoc, and now I see, when I was in Allenwood, they had like 2 Indians there. Big shout out to a brother named Cross Dog. He was the only one that I knew, because another one that was scary, didn't talk to anyone. But I was in a unit with one named Cross Dog. And when I get over there to Lompoc, they got like 300 Indians on the compound. Well, excuse me, Native Americans on the compound. I don't want to be disrespectful, but that's, what we call them. But they're Native Americans. There was like 300 Native Americans on the compound when I was only around 1 my whole bid so far. And this 2001, so that's 8 years in prison and only seeing 1 Native American. And now I'm in Lompoc, they got 300 of them. They got their own tribe. They got the Sweat Lodge. I'm going to do a video on the Sweat Lodge and all that, because the Sweat Lodge is crazy. You know what I mean? But what did you feel like walking into Lompoc?
Well, I was glad to get out the hole, you know what I mean? From Lewisburg, being in there all summer. First part of summer, and then spring, it was very hot in there. The Cubans, they got the metal walls up, and they put in there for the Cubans, and it's a hot box there in the summertime or whenever it gets warmer. And so when I got to Lompoc, I was just glad to get out of that. So I was just happy to get to Lompoc.
Okay. Yeah, most definitely. But what did you witness coming to Lompoc? What was the culture shock for you? Because I don't know, man. When I was in Lompoc, they had the white TV in the back. You know what I mean? Then they had the Spanish TV in the middle. And then they had the blood TV was the third TV, and then they had a Crip TV. They didn't even have an East Coast TV.
Right.
You witnessed with that.
Well, this is the first time I've seen something like that, because my first spot was, like I said, Lewisburg, and they had a movie TV, a sports TV, and any type of TV, right? And that's the way it was. You had 3 TVs, and they wasn't designated by race. But when I got to Lompoc, they had TVs designated by race, like you're saying, and it was different. It was definitely different.
Okay, because when I was in Lewisburg, like you said, it was just like you said. The racism is not on the East Coast because the gang banging wasn't there in 94 or 95, right?
Right.
But, like you said, upstairs, we had the pool tables upstairs, a pool table downstairs. Yes, a pool table in the prison because it was nice back then. That's the prison. That's the penitentiary that they still try and talk about to make it sound like it's so glorious in the prison. Because we had pool table, ping pong table, foosball. You know what I mean? We had a movie theater in the prison. Yeah, that sounds dope, right? But what about when you go to the movie theater and a dude tried to stab you in the movie theater or stab you coming down the stairs to the movie theater? Or you go to the movie theater and dudes up there shooting dope. Dudes in the back of the movie theater having sex. You understand? Because they're not going to do that in the front where the straight men is at.
Right.
But you got all that going on. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. And that's why they stopped the movie theater and put it on TV, because of violence. And then the prison system changed over the years since I got in there. You have more different races come in, and you had more gangs come in, and you had West Coast, and East Coast time was a little bit different back then. East Coast time was a little bit more integrated, and basically you had like a clash of cultures and almost a clash of different nationalities, and so you have more gangs created based on that and around that.
Okay, so let me ask you this: you grew up with a bunch of black guys in Baltimore. Cool, we got that. But when you go into the prison, I'm gonna keep it 100. When you go into these damn prisons, you know what I mean? Now, black people ain't selling with no white person in the prison, in the federal prison.
No.
All right. So tell me, how was your cell situation? Because you're making it sound like you were so.
No, I was in a cell with another white guy. I was in a cell with a white dude, or I might have been in a cell with an Indian, or I might have been in a cell with a Spanish dude, Puerto Rican. Long as they were good, their paperwork was good, that's the way it was. But no black dude was my cellie. That's just prison politics.
Just so y'all understand, like he said, he grew up with black guys. If I'm from your neighborhood and I wind up with you in Lompoc, and I say, hey, Paul, what's up, PJ? Let me be your cellie.
We're not going to be able to do that. It's just prison politics. You know that.
Now, I know it, but they don't know it. I want you.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can do that, but I'm going to have problems. With maybe the white cars that I'm going to have to deal with. And it could cost me my life or their life, and I'm overprotective of my life, so it's just going to be a bad, look. So to alleviate,
Paul, screw them dudes, man. We homies from the street. Forget what color we is. We got to stand for something. Come be my cellie. What is going to be your response?
I can't do it.
You understand? And this man telling you he grew up with blacks, he was raised with blacks, he got nothing against blacks, but the prison politics say he's not allowed to be in a cell with another black man. You heard him name every other race but black. Just so you understand, blacks is excluded from everything. We looked at as the bottom of the totem pole in prison. Am I correct?
Yeah, as far as being sullied and eating and all that kind of stuff. But I did, I ate with black people when friends of mine that cooked meals, I was like Super Bowl party. I was the only white person invited to the Super Bowl party at Atwater.
Okay, so how did you How was you so comfortable or allowed to run a poker game in the yard when you're not allowed to deal with blacks? Break that down.
No, I dealt with them. I
know you dealt with them, but I'm saying, but like you said, you can't live with them. You can't eat behind them. You can't smoke behind them. You can't do nothing with them. Let's get it straight.
Well, I run poker games. I'm the only white person there, you know, and I ran and I ate with them. So, you know, when they made food, DC brother used to make me food all the time for me. He's a good cook. And you know, some of the other white dudes, they wouldn't partake in it, but I did.
Okay, but now if you was in one of the gangs and a white dude made food for you to eat, and you're in one of the gangs and you accept that food, what would happen?
Well, if you're in a gang and you accept that food, then you're gonna have to answer to if you're in a gang, you're gonna have to accept, you know, the consequences. Like you break those rules, you know, whether who you talk to, who you smoke with, who you sit down and kick it with, you're limited. I can't hear you.
That's what I want them to understand, that you being white in federal prison, and you're in one of those gangs, you can't smoke behind with a black person, you can't drink with a black person. And I like my little white lightning, you know what I mean? But you also can't eat food from a black person.
True.
Right?
True.
Okay, so how did you get away with doing that?
I wasn't in a gang.
You understand what I'm saying? But now, let's be honest. How many people feel that peer pressure that they had to be in a gang? We know you're a different breed.
A lot of people, majority of them felt that peer pressure to be in a gang, to join with some clique or another.
Okay, so what was some of the beefs you had for being in the gangs or not being in the gang?
I mean, I just dealt, you know, one thing I could say about most of my fights, I had a couple fights with, probably 2 fights with white dudes, 2 or 3. And and the rest of my fights, I had more with like black dudes because I'm around them, whether I'm gambling and conducting business with them. So it's on a respect thing, and it has nothing to do with race. But I can tell you this: every time I got into it with the black race, I always had the respect. They didn't jump me and they didn't stab me. We handled it like men. So I always got a fair one, whereas some other white dudes might not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what was the reason? What was the reason for some of the fights you had with the white guys?
One was
the first fight you had with a white guy. The first one was over the cell. We got that. What was your second fight with a white guy?
He was supposed to give me the sodas for the prizes at Lewisburg pool tournament. And he didn't, and we had a little argument like that, and I wound up getting into it with him over. And we didn't get locked up though.
So you worked in the recreation department or one of the departments where you handed out the prizes for whatever event they had, and he decided to cuff the sodas and say screw everybody on the sodas.
Right. So I won it, and I didn't get, you know, he didn't give it to me, and that's what the argument was about.
Okay, so now we're getting somewhere so they understand. I want the youngest to understand what's going on in prison. This man go to the rec yard, they got a prison event, and if you win the bingo or you win the trivia or you win the sports, racing, running, whatever, and then the person that's run, the inmate that's running, say, man, you ain't connected to no gang. I'm not giving you nothing. I'm keeping these sodas so I can sell them and make me some money. You know what I mean? You got to take it in blood. Let's keep it 100. Is that the way it went down?
Sort of, you know, it was basically I wanted what I had coming, and we got in the fight because of it, you know.
All right, well, in the hood, we just say that he told you get that in blood. You know what I mean? You wanted what you had coming. You won the sodas from the administration, but the inmates is running it. So the inmate told you, I'm not giving you nothing. Is that correct? Let's get to the point.
Yeah, sure, sort of something like that, yeah.
Now stop with the sort of something like that.
I mean, he didn't tell me he ain't giving me nothing.
But by him not giving it to you is equivalent to that, is what I'm saying. So you understand. I'm just keeping it street.
Well, his tone was something like that, and that's why I hit him with the right hook.
But that's what I'm saying. I want them to understand what's going on. You win something at the administration level, and the inmate that the administration put in charge of that say, man, I'm not giving you nothing. I'm keeping this. I don't care nothing about you winning. Now, but hold on, Paul. Now, my thing that I want the youngest to understand is Paul went and fought for his. You understand what I'm saying? If a man tell you, I'm not giving you this case of soda you won. Yeah, the administration told me to give it to you, but I'm not giving you jack. You got to come get that. Right or wrong? I just want them to know how prison is, because you make it sound.
I mean, definitely, it goes down like that. You know that. You was there. It goes down.
I know, but I want them to know that. But you're downplaying it like if it was so sweet. No, you handled your business. That's why, you know, to us it was sweet, but to those watching, know that ain't nothing sweet about having to go fight over a damn case of $8 soda.
Yeah, it wasn't even that much, really. But yeah, it was stupid looking back on it. I mean, lucky nothing really came out of it, you know.
But that's what I'm saying, because you already know by the time that was old. So what was that? They had to be in the 90s.
Right.
Exactly. See, now how I know that I wasn't there, because in the 90s you could get a fair one, but when you start to come out the new millennium, that knife come out.
Right.
That knife come out, and I got him up here, and I'm forcing him to answer these questions in the manner that I know it go, instead of downplaying it. He got away with getting the fist fight, like he said. The blacks let him have a fair one, but nowadays, today, you bring your ass to federal prison, you not getting no fair one without no knife.
No, exactly.
He get his knife and y'all have 2 knife fights. Ain't no knuckling it up like the old days. Am I correct, Paul?
Right, and that's the way it is. It was then there, but there's new the change. I watched the prison change over the last 30 years, and I can only say that, you know, that I was lucky, you know, in an aspect. You know, I think, you know, God had His hand in my life, you know, leading me. You know. Definitely.
Okay, how many USPs have you been to?
I was along from Lewisburg to Lompoc, Lompoc to Atwater, Atwater to Lompoc to Beaumont, Beaumont to Atwater, Atwater to Allenwood. Florence,
okay.
No, Florence.
Okay, let's start with each one.
I'm sorry. I went from Beaumont to Florence, and then Florence to Atwater.
Okay, all right. So listen, I know they got A, B, dirty white boys and everything up in there that ain't no goddamn joke. And here you is a white guy from Baltimore saying you're not running with no gang, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Got that, right? Not disputing that. But my thing that I want the viewers to understand is, how long did you last in East Joint? How long was you in Lewisburg, your first joint?
5 years.
Okay, and then you went from Lewisburg to where? Lompoc?
Lompoc.
How long was you in Lompoc?
I was there about 2 years.
Okay.
Got into a fight.
Okay, what did you leave Lewisburg for?
Fighting.
What did you leave Lompoc for?
Fighting.
And where's the next joint you went to?
Beaumont.
And where did you leave Beaumont? How long you stayed in Beaumont?
Not long, because my cellie was beat up and I was locked up under investigation for it.
Okay. And then you got transferred from Beaumont for that?
Right, to Florence.
And how long was you in Florence?
Couple years. Then I got into it with the guy you know.
Okay. We ain't going to say the names up here. You know what I mean? But just so you know, it rocks and roll in these penitentiaries. Now, where's the next joint you went? Then I'm going to get to my point.
I went to Atwater.
And how long was you in Atwater?
I was there about 6 months, got into a fight.
Okay. So what was that fight over in Atwater?
Well, basically, I mean, it was politics, you know. I guess they didn't like.
How we getting somewhere? What was the politics?
The politics was, you know how I am. I kick it with everybody, and they wasn't, you know, really feeling that, you know, you had these white racist type dudes, and they had, I guess, problem with that, you know.
All right, so that's what I'm saying. Let's get to the damn point, man, because you making it sound. I don't want my people looking at this thinking that, oh, you could be white and decide to say I'm going on my own and I'm not running with nobody. I'm not running with none of that. Stop the crap. We're not doing that. Like he said, every jail he went in, damn near, he left for fighting or for some violence around him, like when he left Beaumont. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then now you get the Atwater. That's my baby. I love some Atwater. You understand what I'm saying? Because Atwater, go ahead.
I didn't like Atwater because you're locked in the seemed like you're locked in the unit most of the time, and then you go out for 2 hours. The moves were 2 hours. It was foggy, locked in the morning. I really didn't like the place. You know what I mean? I didn't like how it was run. It just seemed like it was always like locked down. You know?
Okay, stop. That's what I'm saying. Now we're getting somewhere because you're making it sound real lottie-dottie. So I'm going to put this whole interview up as one. I can't even break it down in two because they see the first part, they think it was sweet for a white guy to say I'm independent. Now, what year was you in Atwater?
2004.
2004. I got there in 2007 to 2010. Now, when you got there in 2004, you've been lollydoggling on the East Coast to say I'm not with the white car. You know what I mean? I grew up in Baltimore. I'm allowed to be around blacks, and I'm going to do me, and I'm going to open my pickle table, and any race could come. Is that correct?
Well, it wasn't that I wasn't going to be with the white car. I mean, as prison politics dictate, I had to be with the white race. You know what I mean? But I wasn't going to be with any white gang.
Okay, hold on, man. Hold on. Now we're getting somewhere. Listen to what I'm saying. I want the viewers to understand this because maybe you blocked this out at some time, Paul. You official dude. So I want everybody to understand that. I'm just talking aggressive because now I'm getting to the meat of what my show is about. That ain't nothing nice in no goddamn prison. Now, he did all of that. 5 years in Lewisburg, so that's 92 to like 97. Then he went to Lum Park, you know what I mean? And from Lum Park, when you went to Beaumont?
Yeah.
And then from Beaumont, his son got in the fight, and you left. And where you went from there?
Florence.
Then you went to Florence. So now they got the racist people in Florence because that's the Midwest where the gangs is big. So you trying to tell me when you got to Florence that it was cool for you to run with black dudes?
Yeah, I mean, I was shooting dice. I was doing my thing. You know what I mean? I was playing cards. It wasn't as much. It depends on how many people or different people that are there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people there that knew me. You know, I was doing my thing, and it's different when you go to like maybe Atwater where you got less people that know me. You know, and I'm clashing with people that don't know me.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Now you get there to Colorado. You know what I mean? I was at ADX Supermax. Every time something happened, which is on the Colorado complex, that's why I mentioned that. Because people are so twisted on YouTube, they look for things to complain at. Oh, he keeps saying he was in ADX. I mentioned ADX because ADX is on the same complex, the same property as the Colorado prison where he's at. You know what I mean? Every time they locked down on that USP you was at, we knew why, and the orders was 9 times out of 10 sent out from ADX over to that damn prison. Because when I was there, what year you was there?
I was there in 2002 to 2004.
Okay, well, I was there, like I said, back in the mid-90s. In the mid-90s, you had the California MA and the Texas MA that was going at it. As they opened up the cells, they went on a fight. They went back on a lockdown, and then we got locked down over in ADX. So we already locked in 23 hours a day. But now they tell us we can't have rec, we can't come out the cell because there's something happened over there. So you can't tell me and have me sit here and let these people feel like Colorado was no, you know, sporting ground. No, they don't play that. So you telling me that you didn't get no resistance from no white dudes. We know that you could went to gamble with the black dudes because the blacks, we not really on the racist time. You can't tell me that you didn't have no problems with the white dudes in Colorado feeling the way you just said that we're getting ready to get to about you were running around with black guys, you know, on the compound in Colorado. The white dudes had a problem, there was kumbaya with that. Is that what you're
No, they didn't say nothing to me, but the thing is, they didn't say nothing to me. I mean, they're in their own gang, they're doing their thing, they're checking in fucking people that ain't no good. They're busy doing their thing. You know what I mean? I'm busy doing my thing. But I mean, I'm getting in trouble there. I'm fighting. You know.
Okay, but okay, let's go. I know that, but we know that you're official. We ain't disputing that. But now you get money on the compound. You understand what I'm saying? You're in a place like Colorado that I know rock and roll because I stayed locked down most of the time in ADX for what happened in the complex on the compound that you was on. So you trying to tell me you had a poker table there and you playing these poker games and you didn't have no problems with the white dudes feeling like, you know, they should get something too?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, the way the black dudes is, you getting money, whatever you're doing, you know, the black people that sit in your car, they feel that you're supposed to look out for them. You know what I mean? That you're supposed to look, make sure y'all hit that like button, man, and subscribe. Hit the like button, subscribe. Now, the black people feel like you open them something, that you owe them something. Because if you get into it with someone or a group or a race or a car, then the homies got to roll with you. So if you're going to make money on the compound, you can't say the money is all mine, but then when the beef come, that's ours.
Right.
So you trying to tell me that the white guys allowed you to do that because the blacks ain't doing that?
No, you can't do that either. I mean, when the beef, like I got into a beef over a card game there, and
your light went off. Turn on some light, man. Turn on some light. We're getting good. Turn on some light.
Hold on.
All right, he's going to get some light, and I'm going to, you know, bring him off, and I'm going to talk.
Yeah.
All right, he back on. So this is what I'm saying. I'm getting it out to the people, man, because you're making it sound lottie-dottie. You're official dude, and you survived the official time, and I commend you for that. And luckily, you here with me to be on this side of the fence to talk about it. So we want to let them know. Tell them what happened when you get money on the compound and there's other white dudes around that's not getting money and they see you run the poker game, that you bringing in 50 or 100 books a goddamn night and you're doing all this sending stamps to them on the wire and others on the wire. How's the white guys going to treat you or act towards that? Don't tell me that they make no money.
Well, I mean, they're not going to like it, but I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be issues.
Okay, talk about some of these issues.
There's going, I mean, it's going to be issues. It's going to be, you know, beefs. You know, you got people that, you know, starving or basically, and if you making money, they, you know, especially if you're in a car, you know what I mean, or in a gang, you're breaking off if you're in a gang, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're independent like you, it's hard for me to believe. And I'm gonna keep it 100 because I'm gonna bring other guys up here that's white guys and black guys and from, you know, Chicago, California, DC, New York, and they're gonna disagree with what you're saying. So that's why I want you to at least.
I don't know their experience, but my experience is I've run the poker game there, and if I had a problem with a black dude because he lost his money, now he wants to fight, then I go in the room with him and fight.
Exactly, we got that. You ain't saying nothing wrong. I'm not disputing anything.
I got in 2 fights, no, 3 fights there over the gambling, and they were all with black dudes, and it was just 1-on-1. And the last time, you know, was with a New York dude, and I got he wanted to go knife play, so I went and got a knife, you know, and then my homeboy wound up getting stabbed over that same knife. Because I went in a dude's cell, a homeboy of mine, a black dude, went in his cell, got his knife, because he told me where it was if I ever need it, got his knife, come back out, and that's when we was getting busy. And then another dude, you know, one of the shot callers, intervened and squashed it. But
stop. You know what I mean? Like I said, I mess with you. We good people, but I got to keep these interviews right so that people understand. So you just told me that you went to go get a knife from another black guy to go fight another black guy.
No, I didn't get it from him. I went in his cell and took it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's his knife, bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm a little aggressive, but that's because I'm trying to keep the momentum going. But now you went in a black guy's cell and got a knife and came out to stab another black guy.
Yeah.
Did any black people see you go in that cell?
I don't know. I went in a different unit. I had to go.
Okay. So what I'm saying, the point that I'm getting at is, ain't no white guy going in no black cell to just walk in there. You understand what I'm saying? Now, they do that with an independent like you. Yes, if they're gang member, they can't. So you allowed to walk in the cell. But my thing is, if the blacks found out that you got that knife from out of another black man's cell to go to fight with a black man, what are they going to do to the black man that allowed you to go in his cell to get the knife to fight against that black man? Talk to me about it.
Well, they didn't do nothing to him, but they wound up stabbing a homeboy of mine, the white dudes, because it was like, they looked at it. I was going to start a race war that the white dudes in that prison didn't want to get in. So basically, my homeboy see me hide the knife in the trash can because I got called to the police, to the lieutenant's office, when I had the knife on me. It was being escorted. And when the police had his back turned, I put it in the trash can and told basically for my homeboy to get it so he can give it back to our other homeboy.
Right.
And so he wound up getting the knife, and I told him to give it to my black homeboy. But there was problems with that because a white person cannot give a knife to a black person. So basically, he wound up getting stabbed behind that knife. My homeboy wound up getting stabbed by other white dudes over that knife. They didn't give the knife back to the black dude. They wind up paying the black dude for his property. But since he was my homeboy, he got stabbed.
Okay. The same one you used to come in. The same link that you used to come in, we can send that link to anybody to come in. Now, so what I'm getting at is, what I'm getting at is, you went and got a knife from a black dude, you know what I mean, sell, and you went and did something. There's no way in hell the other blacks knew about that and he didn't get stabbed up. You can't sit here and tell me that. I fucks with you.
Well, I know that. I mean, he didn't. I mean,
but did they know he got that knife out your cell to go stab another black man?
Oh, it was known that I got it was his knife, but I didn't stab the other black dude.
No, but you went face to face with that black dude. Right. That's the point that I'm making. With that knife from another black dude. Let's not downplay this. Bottom line, y'all, so y'all understand the way it worked. If they let him get away with that, I'm not disputing nothing my man's saying because he always been 100. You know what I mean? But if the guy, what car was that dude in?
Baltimore.
Okay, so that was one of your homies. So that makes it look a little different,
right? And they know I fuck with everybody. So
okay, all right. So that makes it a little different. But I want people to understand the point that I'm making is if you white or you black and you go to a white person to get a knife to go fight a white person, you get stabbed by your own people because your own people is not going to let the white people stab you up. They're going to still hold you down, but they don't want it on their jacket that they allowed a white person to punish a black person. Right or wrong?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's get it right. I'm here just giving codes, man.
No, that's right. I mean, but Baltimore, DC, and Virginia really stick together in prison. You know what I mean? And if I get into it with another race, the Baltimore blacks, they got your back. You know what I mean? Just because you're white or whatever. One thing I can say about Baltimore, DC, you're a good thorough motherfucker. You're gonna have somebody gonna have your back. And
you 100% right about that. But the point that I'm making is that, you ran with the Baltimore car basically, so that's why that was okay.
Exactly.
But Baltimore embraced you because it's not like we're not on the racist time like, oh, he's white, we can't hang with him. The white guys is on the racist time as far as he's black that he's not hanging with it. Now, who's BMI from Baltimore?
That's the Baltimore gang.
Okay, tell us about that gang.
They were created after 10 years after I went to prison. I never really followed them.
But did you ever run across any of them?
No, I never met none of them. They never came into the system. I was already moving through the system when they started coming in. I was already moved when 2010, I left Allenwood for FCI. So I never got a chance to run into them. They started coming in the system around that time.
Yeah, that's the point that I'm making. Because if BMI was on that compound, they don't give a crap about you running with the blacks, your skin white, you know what I mean? They still look at you as one of them, and they'll even look at you as a traitor.
No. One thing about DMI, though, one thing about them, they got black people in DMI.
Okay, there you go, school.
So they got.
I know they got Filipinos. I didn't know they had blacks.
No, they got blacks in there. I mean, like for instance, when I was in Allenwood, they had one of the gang members in Beaumont, and he was in the cell with the black guy from Baltimore, and they put another black guy in the cell, and he wasn't from Baltimore, and they told him, "Don't put nobody in here you ain't from Baltimore," Anyway, long story short, he wound up dead.
So you telling me Beaumont had a white BMI in a cell with a black guy, and nobody did nothing to him in Beaumont, Texas? Bloody Beaumont.
Dude's a killer.
Huh?
No, they ain't gonna say nothing to him.
Okay, so I'm saying, so when I'm just trying to get an understanding because I don't know, and you was there,
right?
So you're telling me that in Beaumont, Texas, there was a black guy in a cell with a white guy,
right? And the black guy got put in there, and he wound up dead.
Okay, then they put another black guy, so that means that the black guy that was in there with the white guy thought he was white or he was in that gang.
No, I mean I don't know all the details, but the two that was in there are both from Baltimore.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Hold up, don't say. Let me just get this right. Let me get this right because I'm learning this. I know how federal prison is. So you're telling me. So walk me through it. You're in Baltimore. I mean, you're from Baltimore, and it's another black guy from Baltimore, right?
Right.
And a white guy from Baltimore, right?
Right.
And the black guy and the white guy from Baltimore was in the same cell on Beaumont compound.
No, in the hole.
Oh, that's in the hole. But even in the hole, I guarantee you they didn't put none of them back on that compound. Not after they've been, race, what I mean, mixing in no cell in no federal prison. If I'm wrong, tell me.
Well, no, I mean, it all depends.
Did they both get transferred?
It depends on a few things.
No, but just answer that first, then we go into the few things. I'm definitely going to let you explain it. Did they both get transferred?
I'll tell you this.
I'm telling you that I guarantee you're going to say yes.
I'll tell you this. In most cases, you're right. But in this case, if that dude would have went to the compound, he'd have been all right.
But you heard what you said? If he would have went to the compound, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's the bottom line. That's why I want my young listeners to listen so you'll understand where I'm at with this. I'm standing on facts. That's my man, Paul Crackers, and he official dude. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm letting him know that, I stay in the penitentiary another 15 years after you. And I know it in the penitentiary. When I left the penitentiary, if a black dude show with a white dude in the shoe, on the compound, in hell, in heaven, wherever, there's no way in hell they're going back on that compound where those blacks know that they was living in a cell together. And I guarantee you this, and deny it if I'm wrong or correct me if I'm wrong. When those two people went to another compound, if the white guys from whatever race heard, even if he not connected, heard that he was living with a black dude, he gonna have a problem with those white guys for living in a cell with a black dude.
Well, majority of cases, you're right.
Now, we ain't dealing with majority. We speaking on facts, brother.
No, you're right.
Listen, at any time, and I'm not gonna let you get away with that, Paul. Because like I said, you may not have seen it because you left the penitentiary in 2010. Go ahead.
Right. No, you're 100% right. But in 99.9% of the time, if you get a dude who's a serious, that's done got like 5 bodies, say, right? Just case in point, and he don't mind getting another one, then he's going to be able to do whatever he pretty much wants.
Nah, then he's going to get killed. He going to do what he wants, but then he's going to get killed. I know white dudes that butchered people in prison for just taking a soda, from a black dude, or a bowl of food from a black dude, even when the white dude is hungry and none of the other white dudes is feeding him. You know what I mean? And he hungry, and a black dude say, "You from Baltimore, you white, your people not feeding you, have a bowl of this fried rice that I made." You know those white dudes is going to punish him. Right or wrong?
The way it is now, yes.
All right, that's all I'm talking about. I just want them to know because they're going into prison right now the way it is now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to realize you was in there 10 years more after me, and it changed over 30 years.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You're right about what you're saying for back then. I'm just showing them how the course of times changed, where Paul was allowed to do that up until 2010. But by the time the gang started forming heavy on the East Coast and throughout the United States, it became strictly racial. Ain't no black man going in no cell with no white dude anywhere, living anywhere in no federal prison and not getting murdered.
You're absolutely right.
All right, then let's get the people to know this. So
I'm speaking from a decade or more ago.
No, you know what I mean?
Right. No, that's where the confusion came in.
No, it ain't no confusion. You right. I witnessed what you're saying also. I witnessed what you're saying. You know what I mean? Because I know white guys that was coming, most of them was coming from like the Midwest, you know, Detroit and things like that, that mixed with the black guys, and the black guys embraced them as one of their own. You understand what I'm saying? Where you know, anything can happen in that thing. But I'm saying after 2010, it got crazy because I came out in 2020. You understand? So you're not saying anything wrong, and I'm not disputing you or putting what you're saying on, you know, on no trial. I just want them to know what's going on right now today. Back then, there's certain leeway you got away with, but the prisons got really racist. Is that correct? That's the point I'm talking about.
Yes, that's correct.
You know what I mean? But
that's
everything
correct.
Paul is saying is right, just so everybody know. I agree with everything Paul is saying, but I just wanted to get it out of him. What's happening now today? If a black man go lay in a cell with a white man, you understand what I'm saying? The white guys is going to think that the white guy is a punk, then the black guy is schooling him while he's in the cell. All types of thoughts is going to go through their mind, because ain't no white guy in their right mind moving in no cell with no black man. Right or wrong, Paul?
True.
You know what I mean? And that's all I'm getting out. I speak facts, so I don't want to hear around the way sometimes, 99% of the time. We talking about facts, what's happening right now, and thank God, Paul, we made it out of there, because I you know, me and you would hang on the compound because you're a good dude and, you know, you come from the environment I come from. But you know the white dudes is not going to have me come sit at the white table with you in the kitchen in 2022.
Or even probably then.
They talk about it. That's what I want you to talk about.
You know,
Don't let me have to force it out.
I mean, you know, as things start changing, as things started to change, you know, even then, you know, you couldn't go in certain areas of the chow hall and sit down. If me and you kicked it and I was in that area, you know, you couldn't come there and sit down at that table. You know what I mean? And probably there's other people that couldn't either. So, I mean, that's just the way it was. And I come from city jail where you didn't really have that. And I come from the state prison where you didn't have that, where blacks and whites ate together. And, you know, so it was different, you know, and, you know, there's can be problems behind it.
No, exactly. But that's the point that I want to make, because, you know, no disrespect. You started saying a little lollygaggy and you kind of laid back with it. So I turned up my energy, but it's all in just me giving y'all a good interview. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But everything Paul is saying is 100% right. But right now, you know what I mean? In 2022, like I said, in 92, it was different. In 92 and 93, 94, when I got to Lewisburg, you remember the big black dude that had the white homosexual as his father?
And then
we ain't gonna get to the name calling because I don't put people out there. But you know, it was a white guy that only had sex with black dudes, and he had he kept a white homosexual lover that he protected, and he was a big dude. He was a killer. Yeah. He killed a cop and all that, a state trooper. That's why he went in there. You understand?
Yeah, I know.
The bottom line is, dudes told him, we don't care where you put your joint, what you do, but don't bring that punk sitting around us in the day room, in the TV room, or even touching our damn pool stick. Keep that, no disrespect when I say punk, but I'm just saying how we speak in jail. Right. You know what I mean? Keep that young man that's on same sex with you, so nobody think that I'm being disrespectful. They'd be like, keep that man over there, because if you bring him over here, we're going to have an issue, and then I don't care how many state troopers you did it. Right or wrong?
Right. I remember the people you're talking about, and there was a lot of blood over that situation. I mean, that white dude that you're talking about, he was under that black dude's wing, or whatever you want to call it, and you know, and you had other white dudes, you know, there, different white gangs, but they left that alone. That was his thing, and it was a different time. But anyway, as time went on, that one of those punks that he had wind up going to Lompoc and wind up getting beat up pretty bad. You know, it was a big incident over that, because that punk he wasn't his punk, but he was hanging around them, and just because he was hanging around them and eating at the table with them, that's why he got beat up pretty bad in Lompoc.
Because he was living with a black man in another joint.
He was eating at the table with that punk and that black dude.
Woo! In Lompoc?
Yeah, no. Remember, he was at Lewisburg, the big black dude.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Oh, that's so you're saying that because he was sitting down, eating and walking around behind this black dude in Lewisburg, it followed him to Lum Park. That's the point I'm making.
Because he was friends with the white punk.
Oh, so this wasn't even a white punk. This is somebody who was friends with the punk.
Right. That's what I'm trying to start. They were two young kids, basically, in their 20s, you know, clean shaven, no tattoos, whatever, and soft kind of, right? And the guy there, the white guy, didn't know. He just got there into that block, and the white kid just takes him under and starts talking to him. Next thing you know, they're going to the table and eating together. So basically, it made it look like the black dude's got two punks. So when they got into a big fight in the chow hall in Lewisburg, the white kid that wasn't actually the punk but just hanging with him got sent to Lompoc and got punished. What happened was they told him he had to check in because of that, and they were coming for him basically, and they stepped to him later on that night, and he had one of them razor blades they give out at laundry, and when they came in on him, he opened them up and started cutting on him. The kid did, and then he wound up getting stabbed and beat up.
But the moral of the story that I want everybody to understand is, here's a white dude that's a homosexual that's living with a black dude, I mean, running with a black dude, everything, you know what I mean, doing whatever they're doing together. And then you got another white guy that come in that befriend the white guy that's, you know, having relations with the black guy. So now when he come in, they get into something in the chow hall, you know, isolated or whatever, probably not even over the homosexual activity, but whatever it is, and 9 times out of 10 it might have been. But he gets sent out to Lum Park, the one that wasn't in a relationship with the black guy, but that word followed him to Lum Park.
Damn right. Whatever you do in a prison, if you check in another prison or something bad happens to you, or you run up a debt, you go to another prison, you're going to get beat up pretty bad, stabbed up, jumped, and basically checked in, you know, and that's what happens. So, you know.
No, finish it. But that's the point. That's the point that I'm making.
You got to have a good record, basically. You cannot leave one prison, check in, go on PC, and then go to another prison without something happening. You can't do that. You can't live in a prison like that. So me, I'd rather go out swinging with a knife than check in. You know, I'm not.
Exactly. And I know you very well, but that's the point that I'm making. I want them to understand. You go in there and you see your friend that you grew up with from the street, not you. I'm just making a, you know. Yeah. Now you got a white guy or a black guy, you know what I mean? That's cool with somebody that's a homosexual in the prison, and you knew he was homosexual on the street. Now, you go sit down and you eat at the table with that dude because he's your friend from the street. What is going to happen to him, Paul?
Everybody's going to get stabbed up.
You understand what I'm saying? So you can't say, oh, like out here, politically correct, let's keep it 100. Each person do what they want to do, and that's what it is. But you do that out here. But you go into prison, and a dude is on homosexual activity, and you running with him. You need to stay in that homosexual parameters, because you can't come over here with the straight parameters, because you got on YouTube where people say, oh, this was homosexual, this one, that in jail. No, everybody know what everybody did in jail, because it does what, Paul?
Follow you.
It follows you. So if you was a homosexual in Texas, you know, you go and you get to Kansas City, they already know what you were doing in Texas before you got there. So when you get out here and they see you on YouTube or wherever, they already know what the hell you was doing in the prison.
Exactly.
You know
Everything follows you. It's a small world, you know. I mean, it's a small world. You know?
So, you know, that's what I basically want y'all to understand, man. And that's why I got a good brother like this up here to speak on it from a straight, non-racist, you know, white young man's point of view, because I'm going to bring an Aryan brotherhood up here that's going to tell you straight up, and don't get offensive when he say that we don't hang with niggas. You know what I mean? Because that's the way, you know what I mean? That's how they talk. And that's what it is. The same way I might say, yeah, the white boys this or the white boys that, but it's not disrespecting them. I got the utmost respect for all my people because I had very good friends in prison. John Carlucci, you understand what I'm saying? Aaron, I had good white friends in prison that I didn't see them for their color because they was good men. One was from West Virginia, one was from California. Kyle, big shout out to Kyle in Atwater. Was a good white dude, clean cut white dude that did, you know, like some white collar crime, but he wound up getting 17 years and he came in prison. And I respect him. You know what I mean? I just want everybody to understand how politics work. That ain't nothing nice about this. Don't think you're going to go into prison and you're not going to get caught up in this because you out here saying, oh, he told, so it's cool. What happened if you running with a rat in the prison? You know a dude told in your neighborhood, you grew up with him, you're responsible maybe by his sister. And then you run into this dude and he's a rat and he's in the prison and you with him. What happens to that?
Well, you better handle it. It's going to be on you. If that's your homeboy and you running with him and you know him, you better make sure he's right because you can't be running with him and hanging with him, you know, and it comes out later that he ain't right because somebody else done ran a check on him. You better run that check because if it don't, it's going to fall back on me.
And what's going to happen to you? What they going to tell you to do? When they find out he's hot,
I mean, then I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm going to have to pay the consequences.
Okay.
Either most people most people check in. You know what I mean?
Either that, or you got to stab him,
right?
To let them know that you didn't know that he was hot.
Exactly.
And you gonna handle it, and you gonna stab your best friend. That's your baby mother's brother. You know what I mean? That used to drive you to work every day, but he decided to become a federal informant, and then he winds up in prison, and you befriend him, and everybody else find out that he's a government informant. They're gonna kill you, my dude. So
yeah, no doubt. I would have to stab that dude up.
Exactly.
If that's the case, if I brung him in, I'm responsible for him. If it's my homeboy, I'm responsible for him. You know, everybody. That's why when you go to a place, your homeboys, and they black, they white, or whatever, you give it paperwork to them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you're going to be messing with them, you're going to get whoever you messing with and running with. That's who you're going to get the paperwork to.
All right, just so you understand. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap this up. We're gonna follow up and do another interview with this because Paul got the hang of this now. Now we're getting some stuff out there that we need to get out for the youth to understand. Ain't nothing nice about this. So, Paul, tell them, how did you come home, and what are you doing now that you're home, and whatever website, social media you have, so they know to follow you.
Well, I wound up getting out because of the 2019 law Trump passed, the First Step Act. And that allowed me to get back in court and basically get some issues heard and looked at. And basically, because of my programming, a big shout out to Life Connection program in Leavenworth that helped me really get right and prepare to be released. And the jailhouse lawyer that helped me, Carlos Bazin, he actually got out from prison too, and he's going to law school to be a lawyer. He's the one that did my appeal for me and didn't charge me nothing. And even the public defender at the time said, I have a novel argument, but it's basically just a novel argument, not worth their time. And he did the filing for me, and finally, when it looks like I had a good winning case, the federal attorney's office picked my case up, and public defenders, and they presented it to, did a new brief, and my judge released me for compassionate release.
All right, so what are you doing now that you're home to give back to the youth for poisoning the community, just like I did?
I was working at a hotel, and we take the food that's left over, and I go hand it out to the homeless, and I also get toys together during the year to give out to the children in Baltimore that really ain't getting that many toys for Christmas.
Okay, and where could they find you at on social media?
I'm at on Facebook. That's
give them your name. Do you want them to find you? If you don't, you don't.
Paul PJ Kratsas, Kratsas.
His name is on the screen under his name. So if you want to follow him, you got any questions for him? Like I said, I'm just trying to bring people up here to show, you know, what prison is like for those that think it was a walk in the park. It was no walk in the park. Let's get that straight. You know what I mean?
No, it's not. It's a lot dangerous than when we did time. I mean, nowadays it's really more, you know, gang related and racist, and you know, it's hard it's hard, you know. I mean, because if you go all out and you kill somebody because you want to stand on your own 2 feet, and then you're never going to get out, you know.
Okay, see what he said? It's a lot dangerous, but he said when we did time. Now, when you did time, I just came home 15 years after. I came 12 years after in 2022. I witnessed all this. I survived all this. And I'm trying to tell the youth, you don't want to have to survive this. You don't want to have to get involved in this because it's not worth it.
Yes, you're right.
It's not worth it. That's the moral of this whole interview. Now, you already know, cop the book of Roaring Harlem. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You know what I mean? At roaringharlem.com. I ain't going to do too much plugging because this was powerful so that hopefully a young guy, you know what I mean, of Caucasian descent, you know what I mean, and black and Mexicans too, but of Caucasian descent, let's say in Wyoming, that don't get a chance to be around thorough people like you, Paul, to really get the goods on what happened on the inside. You heard it here at Unique Mecca Audio, man. You know, if y'all got any comments, put the comments. Remember, I answer my comments in my Instagram. So if y'all got anything to say up here, something you don't like, bring the negativity over there. We ain't got to be hoes and put it up here on the screen because I'm not going to feed into that because I don't want to be disrespectful. And I definitely don't want you to be disrespectful. But as you see, I'm aggressive, so I can be disrespectful, but I'm not trying to be. And I'm inviting y'all, please don't be disrespectful in my comments. Bring whatever you have to my Instagram, and then we could talk about it as men one-on-one without everybody involved. It's the same way like we in prison, and Paul will even tell you that. If you got an issue with somebody, you don't stand in the middle of the day room, or in the middle of the compound, or in the middle of the yard, yelling what you got going on, because that's sure to be a fight. You understand? And that's sure to be a knife fight. That's what I'm used to. And on the street, you do that, that's a gunfight. You know? But nowadays in 2022, that's a keyboard fight. I don't know how to keyboard fight. I don't want to be a keyboard fighter. You know what I mean? And I definitely don't want y'all to be either. So if you got any discrepancies, DM me, man, and we work it out. If it's something that I said was wrong or you didn't like, you're entitled to tell me. But we don't need to put all that in the thing. I'm not going to go back and forth with that. I'm just going to delete you and block you. Let's get that straight. So, because I got the power. You got the power that's watching to tune into my channel and listen to what I'm saying. And you got the power to get off my channel, do whatever you want to do and say he full of crap. You understand? Like I got the power to say I'm not going to entertain this negativity and I'm just going to block you. All right? So that's where we at. But now I'm tuning out. Paul, thank you very much for coming. It was very informative and I appreciate you. And you 100 because like you said, you survived, big bro.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? All right. So I'm out.
Toast the crime. can of 26. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a raw in Uptown. They be horn Uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend an ear. He started in Uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours, so we can give back to the youth.